Alrighty, so today's video we're gonna be watching a Bronze 3 Mercy and Kiriko. Now, this game is a bit of an interesting one because it's one of those games where you ever end up like swapping heroes a few times? Like something like you'll be playing a hero, playing it like fairly well, and then the next half starts, and then like everybody plays something different, or they'll play the same support you were on, etc. So, description of this game is this game was definitely something. Both teams were pretty evenly matched, but it was still a very stressful experience. I played Mercy in the first round, but swapped to Kiriko for more healing. When I swapped to Kiriko, the Moira swapped to Mercy, and the tank swapped to Rein. I didn't think much of it until I saw the Mercy pocket in the Rein. Later on, I decided to swap back to Mercy to pocket Bastion, but they asked me to give Mercy to the other support. I didn't want to argue, so I swapped, and I wasn't doing too bad in Kiriko anyway. They continued to pocket the Rein even after I asked if they could pocket the Bastion, who had the best stats. I had the most healing in the lobby, and my team still complained that I wasn't doing enough. Any tips to climb out of bronze would be appreciated. Basically, it sounds like the other support went Mercy to pocket the Reinhardt. Maybe they were duoed or not, and then the Bastion wasn't getting, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Lot there. We'll see how the game goes. We'll see what happens. An emote right away. We like to see. Be careful of that exact spot, by the way, because Widow can headshot you. Here we go. Just one thing to be careful of, by the way, there is when you fly into the team, like using the movement there is fine, but like you're floating in the middle of the air where they can easily get you there. Like use a little bit more position on that one. Like you're like in the middle of the open and they can get a quick limb on you. Captain, thanks for the 4 months. Thank you, morning. Here we go. Have damage boost in the Bastion. That's good. Bastion's really strong right now, too, so that's a really good play to go. So far, everything's fine. Your Moira's flanking, which is no surprise. So far, so good. And your Moira went to their spawn and died. All right, well, there you go. There you go. You would have gone for the res on the Moira? Well, you know what probably would have happened if you did? You'd be running back from spawn with the Moira. Actually, they probably would be out of spawn and not wait for you. All right. That's an interesting ult spot by your Bastion. I love how the Bastion ulted in the middle of the open. So far, this is what's going to happen. Your team's playing really aggressive. Eventually, they're going to get picked off by playing way too aggressive. Yep. Zarya's literally standing in their spawn, grabbing. I was going to say, you got to watch for your Junkrat, too. They're taking a little bit of damage. All right, your Moira's just leaving. Your Moira has two playstyles. Their backline or falling all the way back. That's the two playstyles. Yep. I mean, though, that's one of those situations where you go, you know what? That was worth the retake because we got grab up. Like, sometimes it's okay there. If they use an ultimate, you're like, okay, that's good. Now, what were you pinging there? Are you pinging you want your teammate to go up there for you, or are you telling your teammate to fall back? Because I don't even know where that ping was going. How did you get out there? Well, the Junkrat got too aggressive there. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. But that Junkrat's behind right now. That Junkrat was behind. Your Bastion plays really aggressive, but your Zarya plays even more aggressive, and then your Moira just flanks. So far, it's been a very interesting start, because you said eventually the Moira goes Mercy. Like, the Moira is just vibing right now. Like, the Moira is literally vibing. This is... There you go. All right, back to the Mercy. hasn't ulted yet either. Be a good time for Moira to ult. Moira should ult this, I think. Or heal the wall. Probably ult time? I'm just trying to see when they ult. Huh. Alright, well. You know what's happening so far? And some people in chat know what I'm talking about here. Is it me or is your team? Is your team taking the perfect amount of damage right now? And what I mean by that is it's just enough damage to where you can't heal all your teammates up, but it's also enough to where they're all just sitting there at like 10 HP and you can't heal them up in time, but like they're close to being able to keep them alive, but you can't because they're taking just enough damage to where you can't heal everybody up in time. So like the team fights are winnable, but at the same time, there's just enough damage being happening. Like there's enough damage happening where you can't keep them alive. That's what it feels like from your point of view. The Moira is also in the backline flanking most of the time, so you're basically solo healing it right now. I don't know, maybe well, we'll see what the Moira does here. Because if the Moira sticks with you, you'll be fine. The Moira should ult this aggressively. All right, back to the Mercy. All right. So far, like, you hear the Junkrat. You hear him. You pinged him. Nice ping. Nice ping. Nice ping. You know what? I am glad you did that because I could tell you were trying to let your teammates know that Junkrat was up there and you had enough. Like, you had enough. You're just like, that's it. No one's going to listen to that call out, and you went up there. There's a Mercy just sitting up in that hallway, by the way, that just died to a Moira orb. You'd love to see it. Okay, but the teammates... I'm curious to when the Moira is actually going to use the ult now. I feel like it should be somewhat soon. All right, that was a Junkrat tire. Like, I feel like it should be somewhat soon, right? At this point, I'm... Zarya's playing too aggro. If your Zarya was saying you didn't heal him there, that was on the Zarya. I do that on tank sometimes. I kind of just, like, get a little bit too aggressive in between a team fight. I regroup a lot of the time, but that was one of the situations where... Your Moira should ult this now. Otherwise, your team's gonna... There it is! There's the Moira! Let's go! See? Worked out. I'm surprised they went in for the fade there. That Junkrat was dead. Uh-oh. Yeah, your Zarya's playing too aggro, by the way. I can tell you right now, your Zarya just basically spawns, goes into their team, and then goes, why am I not getting healed? Granted, I don't know if that's what's happening so far, but yeah. You gotta Valk this early. Nice Valk. Jump. Okay, so one thing I want to... Okay, so something you need to do there is you were asking a little bit about this. Fly to your Zarya. You'll fly across the point and you'll contest it at the same time. Use your movement. Don't just go to the point like that. Otherwise, you're going to get rolled. You're going to absolutely get rolled. Like, that will happen most of the time, what just happened. Because you're not really using your movement there. You're just kind of floating towards them. But if you, like, fly across to the Zarya, then fly back to the Junkrat, then you'll probably have a lot more survivability. You can probably survive on the point. So, good grab by your teammate. Still might be able to hold that. Yeah, good grab. So now you're on Kiriko. All right. And you went Kiriko because you said you wanted to have more healing because you didn't feel like there was enough. This is good. Let's see how you play this. Okay, taking the high ground control, not bad. Now, keep in mind, there's a Kiriko who's about to flank the cart and try to push it in. Just want to point that out. I just saw them on the corner of your screen. Yep. You know, it's certainly an interesting scenario there because you had to take the 1v1, but then your teammates didn't really react to, like, you having to take that 1v1 or were like, well, you know what? Better be able to heal me and DPS that Kiriko on the cart while I'm trying to hold the cart there. So far, this has been multiple things happen. All right? So far, what I've seen, your Moira likes to go into the back line. Your Zarya only likes to play aggressive no matter where anybody's positioned on the map. And half the time, your teammates are trying to find as much damage as possible to where you constantly have to catch up on heals. But, at the same time, it hasn't been too bad of a game. 30 seconds left on the clock, not bad. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. That was certainly a start to the game. mean, so far, it's like, it's exactly what we've been talking about. Half your team plays too aggressive, other part of your team plays too passive. Sometimes you kind of don't, what needs to probably happen now for you, one thing that I see happening so far is that you aren't quite going at the pace that your teammates are going at times. So you'll want to play aggressive, but you kind of wait like really long to go up there with your team. So sometimes you have to like, that's an adjustment that has to be made. Like for example, the way I do it sometimes, if all my teammates want to play passive, I'll try to like adjust my play style a little bit to playing passive. Because if I go in and feed over and over again, what's going to be better? If I work with my other teammates who are playing a little bit more of a passive play style? Or do I just go up there and play aggressive the whole time and feed and be like, oh, well, you know what? It's what it is. Like, I will try to make an adjustment off of that. So if your teammates are playing aggro like that, especially when you're in Kiriko, it's okay to go up there with your Rhine. I know that you had to cap the point, don't get me wrong, but we've seen that even before the point was being capped. Is basically like what I'm referencing with that one. Do you see the distance your team's at right now? That's what I'm referring to. Your team is taking more map control, and you're playing further back, and like by the time you catch up to where they are, they're already moving forward somewhere else. And that runs into part of the problem. Big slam! Cleanse. Good luck to your team now. I would look to TP out behind you. Or stand in the middle of the open. Well, if there's nobody behind you, it's fine, but that is how you would try to get back there. Okay, this is where your Moira goes. Okay, so this is where the Moira goes Mercy. All right, let's watch. Healing up your team. Good Kitsune, I like that. Okay, so I'm gonna see how this fight goes. Nice. You see what you're doing though? And I want to showcase this now because, and keep in mind with Kiriko, it's okay to play range sometimes, but do you see like the pace that your Reinhardt's going? Do you see this? Right? I want you to see where you're at right now. Now, it's okay to have good positioning as Kiriko, right? I'm not saying that. But when you have numbers advantage here and there's no way they're going to get you, you don't want to give them any opportunity to trade. And look where you're playing from. See what I mean? How as your Rhine keeps getting aggressive, you're not kind of going with the pace of your team. And then as that happens, you end up all the way back here. You see what I mean? Now, if your Reinhardt's playing passive, then play that way, right? If your Reinhardt's playing aggressive, you have to kind of angle a little bit more to be a little bit closer. Obviously, it's okay to heal from a distance as Kiriko, but obviously there's travel time, etc. So you're right, the Mercy really is pocketing the Rhine. Wow. Like, huh. I mean, it's fine. I'm just... Big slam. The only thing I can think of watching that is the Rhine at some point said, listen, no one's healing me. I need to be pocketed. So then someone went Mercy to pocket the Rhine, right? Like, it's the only thing I can think of, right? That's literally what's happening.
Come to me for heals.
Yep. That's exactly what's happening. The Rhine, and I don't know if they were duoed or not, or like if they said something in chat, we can't see chat. But this Rhine basically made it clear that they want to be pocketed the whole time when they're playing, which is why that swap happened. Because they're healing the Rhine even when they're at 100%. Like, the Rhine will be at 100% HP and they're just holding the left click on Rhine. That, to me, is probably what happened. Because that was, you could see the Mercy was holding left click on the Rhine. Like, that was happening no matter what. That left click was being held on that Rhine. Still plenty of time in this game, so we'll see. So now, they're still on Mercy. You're on Kiriko. Let's continue to see what happens. Oh, the Junkrat fell off the map? I've been being honest with you, I missed it, but I'm not surprised. Happens all the time. See what I mean? Oh, yeah. If the Ryan keeps playing like that, the Ryan's gonna get rolled, by the way, soon. I just want to point that out. This Ryan keeps going around the corner. I don't know if it's gonna happen this team fight, but look, watch what's gonna happen to this Ryan eventually here. They're playing way too aggro. I'm telling you, this Ryan is gonna fall over soon. Okay, they're falling back. Good job. Good TP out of there, by the way. That was really well played. It seems that your Reinhardt's reaction to them playing up there was to stay at the choke. I want to point out your Reinhardt just shattered. Okay. Well, that was certainly something. So basically, their whole team flanked behind, got to the point, the Reinhardt stayed at the choke trying to get in the limb, and then eventually shattered with no HP, and now you're back to overtime spawns, which I hope your team regroups. Please regroup. I've been talking about this a bit. And I actually, somebody asked the question, like, well, isn't the point to go to the point and, like, that's the objective in overtime? Well, if you're on defense, you still want to regroup because the spawns are longer. You don't want to keep running to the point over and over again. Obviously, if you're on attack pushing the cart, you need to go to the cart, right? But if you're on defense, you don't need to run there one by one over and over again. Yeah, your Ryan's playing really aggro. Do not ult this. Do not ult. Your team's doing that, by the way. They're going to the point one by one. Okay, so we're going to talk about this in a second if they get both of you here. We'll see. I'm going to see what happens first. Okay, so listen. In my opinion, and I know that you could have maybe gotten out, you're way better off just running to the cart and resetting, especially in overtime, than trying to escape there because you're just staggering yourself and giving them more opportunity to push the cart. You see what I'm saying? Like, your team should be... So the positive is you got Tire out, but it's the same. The team needs to just regroup, fall back. In overtime, if you're on defense, you don't need to run to the cart over and over and over again, one by one. Just wait. Everybody needs to wait and spawn. Everybody, wait and spawn. Wait and spawn. Just for a second. I hear the Kiriko saying fall back. Zergot's like, what? Okay, there we go. Nice. Now you can stack your ults that you have and go in and win this team fight. Good ult. I like this. This is a good ult. Nice. Okay, I will have to say right here, I do want to point out, you kind of worried more about what was going on behind you for a second there than keeping your Rhine alive, and then your Rhine ended up getting rolled on the point. Obviously got rezzed, I think, or was getting rolled, but you got to be wary of that sometimes. Like, sometimes you need to, and I talk about that's like going at the pace that your team's going sometimes. If your Reinhardt's going to go in there, you need to be a little bit more aggressive and be able to heal your team and, like, pay attention to your Rhine. So definitely make that adjustment a little bit more. But yeah, right there, I think your team could have held on second if you didn't run to the point a lot, over and over again. Let's do this. I'm watching. Mercy's still pocketing the Rhine. Already got the Bastion pick. So what's happened again, by the way? I want to point out what's happening here. Keep in mind, it's okay to play the distance sometimes as Kiriko. I'm not saying don't do that. But look at the pace of your teammates and where they're going and where you're at now. You're so far behind that you can't catch up to your Rhine in time, and you're going to take a little bit to get the heals to Junkrat. This is what I'm referencing. It's okay to push up a little bit. I know there's a lot of damage happening, and a lot of things are happening that are make it, like, you know, a random Junkrat mine, Bastion, etc. But you're playing a little bit too far back and not going at the same pace as your team. And that's what's happening. Mercy also went for the res, and res the Rhine. I want to be honest with you. If you teleported to your Rhine there and cleanse them, I actually think you have an opportunity to win that team fight. I'm not even kidding you, because if they don't have a tank there right now, that Bastion already used it. Like, if you TP there to that Rhine, I think you actually can win that. I actually think you can, believe it or not. Because that Rhine still was able to stay around that corner and be fine. I want to see you move through the choke here in a second. I want to see you get through this choke. There we go. There we go. Nice. See? This is what I'm talking about. You're going at the pace of your team now. Granted, like, if your D.Va flies into their back line to the far back left, that's more on the D.Va at that point, but that's what I mean being go at the pace of your team sometimes. Obviously, that can change if, like, half your team is playing aggressive and half your team's playing passive, because then at that point, your team needs to kind of, like, come together and figure out how they want to play it. I'm okay with you staying here for now. You gotta be the one to cap the point. I like the attempt there. Keep in mind, I still like the attempt there.
You take a lot of damage, huh?
All right. Here we go. It's time. That's an ult. You don't need to worry about your Bastion there. Like, your Bastion is in spawn doors. You don't have to worry about that. There's a Junkrat to your right. Nice. I'm trying to see what I want you to do here on the car. I think you're fine. You're with your team. D.Va's playing really aggro. You can go, yeah. Good idea. I like this. I still like the idea. Go for that Junkrat eventually. If you don't get that Junkrat's gonna tire you from behind. They have no HP. Oh. You gotta try to focus to, like, your surroundings and what's happening there, because that Bastion should not be in a situation where they even have to get res. They should have been fine. Be careful here. Yeah. The Junkrat earlier had no HP. You can go for the Junkrat, you can play around it a little bit, but the Junkrat had full HP pocketed by a Mercy. That's a little bit different. You see the situation there? I want you to Kitsune this early. Like, now. Kitsune. Kitsune. Uh-oh. Okay, we gotta talk about that for a second. We gotta talk about that for a second. All right. So, you didn't win the game. That ending right there, though, where you, like, sat in the corner there waiting to be able to go back to the point rather than cleanse your team. No, they weren't typing. What they were trying to do is they wanted to touch the cart and they were hiding from the Junkrat tire. I'm going to give you, like, the best way to describe this. What is going to be a better situation there? Trying to Suzu your teammates from the Junkrat tire and everybody surviving, or the Junkrat tire getting all three of you, right? The better option is to try to save your teammates, because if you don't save your teammates there, it's a 1v5 on cart anyway. You ain't winning that. So it is worth just trying to get a good cleanse time in and save your teammates. If you all die to the tire, you all die to the tire. But if you're just waiting for your teammates to die and then going to the point 1v5, you're not going to win that. At that point, you're losing that team fight. Also, a little bit before that, I wanted you to be proactive with your ultimate even before they bash an ultimate, because when you ult first, the other team has to react. I talk about it all the time about being proactive with your ultimates. You need to ult there, because when you ult there, that makes the other team have to react. And I'm not saying the Bastion won't make that same play, but maybe the Bastion goes, oh no, they Kitsune'd. I'm gonna Bastion all here. And it's a different spot, right? Because they have to react to what your team's doing rather than you reacting to what their team's doing. You said so they lost anyway, to be honest. I like, okay, straight up, I like the chances of Kiriko and the rest of the team on the point in a 3v5 rather than a Kiriko on the point in a 1v5. Even if you lose that, I still like your chances better if it's a 3v5. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, back to the initial statement. You were right. It looked like the Mercy did switch to just purely pocket the Reinhardt, which, in my opinion, probably wasn't the most ideal play. At the same time, you also were playing really far back, so my guess is the Rein felt like they needed more heals, because a lot of the time when they would see where you're at, and even where your other support was at when they were playing Moira, they felt like they needed more people on the front line with them. They didn't adjust their playstyle, so your team had to adjust the playstyle a little bit, and then it turned to this whole game where, like, the Rein felt like they needed to be pocketed by the Mercy, but then the Mercy wasn't damage boosting the Bastion, and then damage boosting the Bastion makes it easier to be able to kill the Zarya and the other team, because Zarya is actually countered by Bastion for the most part, even if you shoot through the bubbles, because you can do a bunch of damage. It was a whole, like, chain of things that was happening, and that's basically, your teammate says you weren't doing enough. I don't think it was the lack of not doing anything. I will say you need to adjust the playstyle a little bit if your team's playing like that. I don't think pocketing only the Rein by holding left click on them, even when they're full HP, was also the play. So that was like a team effort. I think everybody there had adjustments that could have been made to be able to win that game, rather than being like, well, you weren't doing anything. What were you doing? You know what I'm saying? All right. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button. Sub to all the YouTubes if you haven't, all three of them. A bunch of awesome videos. If you want to submit your own replay, look in the description below. My Discord's there. Speaking of description below, I also stream all of these. Most of what we record live on stream, so if you haven't followed the stream, links there too. And outside of that, hope you all have an amazing day/night.